What's up guys, Kyle at Aviator. Today we're going to go through unboxing a brand new motor. The last unboxing video I think was about 2 years ago, and a few things have changed, and we're just going to go through a lot of simple details and things that'll make it easier when you're unboxing your motor and putting it together for the first time. Alright, getting started. Open the box, just take everything out to begin with. Got our bag, and then our motor. This is a Delta electric start clutch Nitro. So now that we have it out of the box, we can just leave this here for now. First thing we're going to do, set this to the side. We're going to go into the bag. And I would suggest keeping your box. It's a nice box to have, and if you ever need to ship it somewhere to go travel with, it's a good thing to keep. All right, inside the bag. So when you guys get this, you will get a quick start guide. The quick start guide is on the Aviator website, and it tells you all of the specifications of the oil to use. We recommend Sabre, non-ethanol. Non-ethanol 90 is what we recommend. So inside of the bag here, prop covers. If you travel, I suggest you use those. Props. So this prop is an E-prop. They can come with an E-prop or a Peshka, either one. It just depends on what they come with. So either one is a good prop. We use both of them on ours. Just whatever one comes in the bag. Continuing on, spark plug. Flipping it over, we have all of our spars, and we'll go through the lengths on those later. And the other one, our prop plate and prop bolts. Now here is the charger that comes with it. This is a charging, discharging charger, so it comes with everything you need, and we will also show you how to use that in this video. And first, take out these batteries here. Comes with two batteries. This is the burn bag and the battery in the burn bag, and they're the same exact battery. They're just comes with two, so you can always have one extra. And we'll show you how to use that. Last thing is our cage. Let's put it together. All right, first thing we're going to do, we're going to take off the harness straps here. And some of these units, so this is a Delta frame, and some of these will come with quick release where the threads are on this side, so you don't have to use this bolt, so it'll actually be opposite. But it's still the same thing. This is just the way the Delta is designed. So for the first step, we're going to put our back pad in, and there's Velcro on the top. Get the back pad in the top. Back pad slides into the bottom. Back pad is securely in. All right, for the next part, we're going to get the bars on. So for this, you're going to need a, I believe it's a 6 millimeter and a 13 millimeter socket. And some of the bars, so these bars, for example, are silver bars, as you can see, and this is a Delta frame. Sometimes they'll come with silver bars, especially if they're acro bars. Acro bars generally only come in silver, so if you order a Delta, they're going to come with silver bars if they're acro bars. And sometimes they're just regular silver bars. Honestly, it doesn't matter. I like the silver bars because they're not coated, so there's nothing to come off. So to get these on here, I'm just going to remove this bolt. Now when you're tightening these, you don't want these too tight to where you can't move the bar, and you don't want them too loose to where they wiggle. So we'll show you where that's at. All right here, this bar doesn't wiggle side to side, but it moves up and down freely. That's exactly how you want it set. Another very important thing to check is when you attach the bar, you need to make sure all of these straps are in line and correct. Nothing's twisted inside of each other. But right here, this is exactly how you want the bar to look. Now we're just going to do the same thing for the other side. All right, so for mounting your battery, they come in this burn bag. We're going to leave them in the burn bag. And on the titanium frame, in this gap here, this gap is actually bigger on the titanium, so this battery will slide right in here, and then you can just Velcro these straps around it, which came on the battery. But for the Delta, for example, we're just going to take the battery and go on the inside, slide it right on the inside, and it kind of pinches in there just a little bit, just like that. We'll hold it there, and then we'll take our zip tie or our Velcro straps, and we'll Velcro it right to the frame, just like that. And we do have 2 Velcro straps, so we'll do up a little bit higher, and then we'll go lower. And you don't want to do it on the outside, because if you do it over here and you have this swing arm and the battery sticking out, it can press against the battery if you're traveling, or the bar just pushes on it. You don't want to put that much pressure on the battery. But as you can see, it's an easy connection, and now you always have the ability to check your battery. All right, once we got the bars on, we have the battery on, always make sure to pull up your bars and check and make sure everything is straight and connected. One thing that is important that we have noticed, these straps here, these actually are just shoulder strap adjustments. They're not anything supportive except for when you go to put your motor on your back, they just keep the straps at a certain point. What I suggest, and what we all suggest, is take this strap after it goes through and run it back one more time. That way that strap has no chance, because if this comes undone and goes back, it can possibly go into your prop. For the next thing, we have our spars. As you can see, they are different lengths. There's 4 long ones and 2 short ones. On the Delta, you're going to have 4 long, 2 short, and on the titanium version, you're going to have 2 long, 2 a little bit less long, and 2 short ones. The tallest ones always go on the top, and the shortest ones always go in the middle. And we'll show you what that looks like right now. So we have 2 long ones to go on the top, and we can check them again. The 2 shortest ones go in the middle, and by middle, we mean where the center spar goes. Now you only have 2 left. Put that there. And put that there. Now we have our spars on. We're going to use our net. Take off these straps. And these straps will be used later, so don't get rid of these. We're going to use these actually for the outer hoop. And I found the easiest way is to just take your time with the net. Sometimes the net, being brand new, it can be kind of confusing, especially if you've never done it before. So, we know this is the bottom, where these 2 clips are. We know this is the bottom of the net. We can actually leave these on or remove these until the end, but for now we're just going to leave them on. Now, once we have the top together, you can see there's rivets on one side. The rivets go towards the pilot. So the rivets are going to go on the front-facing side of the pilot. We'll start with the top 2. And sometimes, as you can see this one, right now it doesn't look like it lines up, but it's got some wiggle room. So put one in, and put the other one in, and just slide it on. Now for the next one, make sure everything's not tangled. For the next one, you can see this one, you feel like you can't get it on, just lift it up, slide it on. For the other side, we're going to do the same thing. Make sure nothing's tangled. See this? This would be incorrect, because if you were to do this, then the net is going to be surrounded. So we'll make sure that's not in the way, it's not over any spars. Now we can install. A little bit of pressure, installed. And then for this last part, we're just going to do this and slide that on there. And it's not going to fit perfectly yet because it's not 100% complete. Same thing with this side. Insert. Now these clips on the bottom I was telling you about, this is the next part. We're going to pop these clips off. These clips just pop right off of here. Then they look like they might screw in because there's an Allen key. They don't screw in. They're just pressure fit, and then they fit around the tube. We're gonna move the next one. We're gonna slide this in. Once the hole lines up, you simply push it on. Same thing for the other side. So as you can see on the side of the net here, this one popped off. That's okay. We're just gonna reinsert, make sure everything is good. And now what we're gonna do is take this netting. So the netting right now actually looks really good. All we're gonna do is take both sides of the net. This side is tangled, this side is not. But you can take this side and just follow the line, pulling the line out. All we're gonna do is very loosely hook the net together to give us some easier working room here. We're just gonna take this and barely connect it, just so the net is put together. All right, and once that's done, we can do some finer adjustments on the net. There we go. Now we'll snug it as we go. This is just a simple pull. I'll actually take this off so you can see it. Once this is hooked up like this to the hook, you simply pull and it will self-tighten. So we're gonna hook it back up. Pull, pull, pull. Now the net's not perfectly tight, but it's getting there. So right now, we got that done. Now the next thing we're gonna do is take our Velcro straps. You can see that these are all put together. Velcro straps go right around the outside. And I like to put this part where it Velcros in the front. And you don't want these super tight, you just want them, they're just supportive. So just a little snug, squish it down, and it's good. Just gonna do the same thing for the rest of where the spars meet. Okay, now once that's done, we still have to do a few things for the net. The net isn't quite as tight as it could be. It would work, but we want it a little bit tighter than that. So what I would suggest is taking your fingers and pushing down on the net. So we're gonna push down, then we're gonna go retighten. Then we retighten the net. It gets a little bit tighter, same thing. Pull on the wire, pull on the wire, pull. One more time for the net. And now our net is much tighter. The next thing, you can see these gaps here. This is something that, although not a huge deal, is something that a lot of people like to take care of. And what we use specifically is a zip tie, a thick zip tie running one here, one in the middle, and one on the bottom. Another thing you can use is the Velcro, like a Velcro strap like we have. You can use those too for easy disassemble, but if you keep it together all the time, a zip tie will work just fine, just putting 3 zip ties in here to close this gap up. So now that the net's done, let's get the prop on. So for this next step, we have a couple things. First I want to talk about the spark plug. We use BR10. This is actually a Denso plug. They work awesome. They're normally the ones that come with your motors. We've actually had one of these on a motor for over 100 hours without ever having to change it. But as you can see, there's a crush washer on here. It's pretty easy to see. That crush washer, that's how tight you want it. When you put this on here, you're gonna remove this little pink stuff, and when you install this on here, you're gonna feel it start to get snug, and all of a sudden it's gonna stop. It's gonna get hard to turn and it's gonna stop. And when it stops, that's how tight you want it. You don't need to torque this down. So, for the next thing, is the prop. So the prop comes 2-piece carbon fiber prop, E-prop or a Peshka. So we have our prop plate and our prop bolts and washers. Make sure you get the washers on through the prop plate. Do all 6 of these. Okay, now once you have that on, since you have a 2-piece prop, try to line up the holes as best you can. Once they're lined up, you can simply set this on. Now it's ready to go. This has plenty of threads on here that'll work to go in here. So we're gonna install this. We're gonna start by finger tightening them first, just to make sure we get threads. Just do each one about a couple turns, just to make sure. Now for tightening this, simply use a T-handle, because if you use a long end where you can have a lot more leverage, you'll actually strip them out. So just take this, spin one on at a time, make sure it's all lined up. So once this one's semi-snug, the next one. And try to go in a star pattern, the same way you'd take off a car tire or install a car tire using the lug nuts. Try to go in a star pattern. All right, now once they're on there, we're going to start over. Now we're just going to snug them each about a quarter turn. Not super tight. And that's it. People ask if you need to torque your prop bolts. Please don't. The way you saw me do it right there is perfect. Just a little bit of tension on the Allen key. If you torque them, they can strip out, and it's just one other thing you don't need to check. All right, so for this part, this is a left-hand throttle. Some people have a right-hand throttle. It really depends. With this particular throttle, even though it's an E-start, if you were to switch this throttle to the right hand, right now you have this strap is on the left, so this is made for your left hand. In order to rotate this, to put it on the opposite side, you simply grab it and rotate. You can actually just simply rotate this whole handle 180 degrees, and now it's a right-hand throttle. So if you were to swap the whole mechanism over, which only takes a couple zip ties, now you have a right-hand throttle. But for this unit, we're going to leave it on the left. So we can just simply rotate it back. And we're good. One other thing I'd like to talk about are these bars. So after we got them installed, everything is good. They can only each go on one side. If you look straight on, they're actually bent. They're actually countered to the left a little bit. And we get a lot of questions as to why the bars are bent. They're actually bent for torque. So on your back, it might look like it sits crooked or something like that. But when you're in the air, this is what helps you compensate for torque. And another thing is your hang points. So these hang points right here, in the quick start guide, we tell you how far to set these, measured from here. So if we say 4 inches, you go from here, measure up 4 inches, and that's where it needs to be, depending on your weight. And there is another video for that on the Aviator PPG website that you can look up, and it's in the quick start guide. And torque specs for the motor, the only thing at all that needs a torque spec are the head bolts. These head bolts require 10 foot-pounds, and we find that is sufficient to keep these on, and check these as often as you want. If you want to check them after every flight, that's perfect. If not, at least every 10 hours. And another thing to keep an eye on as far as bolts, these exhaust bolts right here, right underneath the prop, keep an eye on those too. They're 13s, same size as these, they're both 13 millimeter. Keep an eye on these, and once in a while take a wrench to them and tighten them up. And with these bolts here, you can see this little gap in the spring. That's the perfect amount of gap spring that you want. Spring gap rather. You don't want it tighter than this, and you don't want it looser than this, because that can either cause it to vibrate loose or be too tight and then actually break this bushing here. All right, for this part, we're going to talk about installing power floats and a reserve. So when you guys get a reserve, generally it's going to be in a side mount. For a front mount, it's pretty self-explanatory. You put it on your lap and you strap it to the frame. However, on a side mount, especially with these, you can see that there's this pocket here. You simply unclip, unzip this entire pocket all the way around. It's just Velcro and a zipper. And then after that, the reserve will sit in here as you can see it. All you do is clip it back on so it looks just like the pocket, and then you're going to have that bridle. That bridle needs to be sure that it goes over this bar and it runs through the harness. That is the important thing. This is a very simple thing to do, but the most important thing to remember is the bridle needs to go over this bar, not underneath. If it's underneath and the reserve were to get deployed, you're going to be hanging sideways. So the reserve bridle always goes on the outside, and then just routing it underneath the Velcro and strapping it in. Now for power floats. As you can see, this is a standard power float. However, it only opens on one side, and this one opens on the left side, because on the top here, there's no red handle to pull, versus on the bottom, there's actually this little red bulb that you can pull to inflate it. So this power float needs to go on your left-hand side, where that red pull is facing down. So this one would actually go on the other side of the motor, right over here. And these you can kind of mount however you want. Some people like to mount them on their harness straps, which you can do. You just strap it to the top of the frame, and that works perfectly. You just keep running these around after you mount the reserve, of course. You run it around, that works good. But the way that some of us choose to do it is using the spars. So you route this under the top spar, routing it through here. And now once that's on, you can simply Velcro these to your frame. And then this bottom one, you can either use the bottom of the cage or the gas tank strap. And that's all it'll do. It'll just sit just like that, and your power floats are good to go. All right, so we went through most of the motor. There's not really anything else that is pertinent to putting together your motor and starting it for the first time, except for these next couple things. Some of you order a primer system, some of you don't. The primer system is a really nice thing to have. It also helps with having a secondary kill switch, and it makes your motor much easier to start, saves on your starter, and it's an overall just a good thing to have, and it doesn't cost a whole lot of money. But generally, the primer is going to be on your right-hand side because most people have left-hand throttle. So for the right-hand side primer, it's going to be mounted on the side of the frame, and you will simply open the valve, prime it 4 to 6 times, and each motor is different. Some motors require 4, some require 10. The motor that I fly, the Tornado, requires 10 primes. The Nitro I used to fly required 6. They vary. So all we're going to do is open the primer, push the bulb in 3 to 10 times, depending on how many your motor takes. It's kind of a trial and error until you understand it. And then close the valve and start your motor. And that's how the primer system itself works. Now, for the first time to start your motor, everyone seems, not everyone, a lot of people seem to have trouble starting it for the first time. So this little blow tube here, if you have a primer, you still are going to have to use this for your very first start. So I'm going to show you this tube, which you're going to blow into, and then also on the back of the motor, follow me around here, on the back of the motor, right here in the carburetor, this is that diaphragm. So all we're going to do is blow into the hose, and as we blow into it and we feel the pressure start to build, we're going to hold our finger very gently on here, and you can actually feel this as you push it down. There's a kind of like a little thud, and that's bottoming out. So we push that as we blow into the tube, and you can actually see as you're blowing into the tube, you can watch fuel come up the fuel line, and once fuel hits your carburetor, breathe in for about another second, prime your motor, and start it. And if you don't have a primer, blow into it for about 4 or 5 seconds to fill the carb up and get it ready to fly. All right guys, now we got the whole motor put together. We went over every aspect of getting your brand new air conception put together, and this is going to be the same for the Tornado and the Nitro, whether it's a Delta or a titanium frame. And final thoughts, the only thing I ask of you guys is that when you run oil, run Sabre. It's what we use. It runs perfect. 90 non-ethanol or higher, that's what we prefer. And also just leave your carb settings where they're at. 1 and 1 is factory. You can see that in the carb video. There should be no reason to touch it. If you need to touch your idle, totally okay. Get the idle to where you want. And if you're at higher altitude and you have questions on how to tune your carburetor, give us a call. Anything we went over here, if you guys have questions, feel free to give us a call, drop us an email. Whatever works best for you, we're always here to help, and thanks for watching.